felt across the whole of North Wales, right out into England as far as Liverpool, Manchester. A massive area was affected. In the particular instance of Llandrillo, the villagers came out of the houses there, like they did in villages all over the affected area, pitch black. And in Llandrillo, it's below a steep hill that climbs gradually, undulating up onto the top of a local mountain. Over the first undulation, the first ridge, if you like, the villagers saw all these lights and beams, luminescences, if you like, and they would never have noticed it had they not come out the houses. And because of a certain type of rumbling noise, it sounded like a bit of an explosion amongst it. These people assumed that it was actually an airplane that had crashed on the mountain above them.
But they could also see lights as well, couldn't they?
Yeah, well, these lights, they made the people think and realise that these lights might have been coming from a crashed plane just out of view over the ridge. So they all started ringing the police, the local bobbies. By 9 o'clock, just within 20 minutes, had concluded themselves that there was probably a plane crash, reported it all to superiors, and before you know it, there's police officers in the village from other areas, and they were going up onto the mountain.
Scott, can I just pick up on that?
Yeah.
That's am I right in thinking there's a call logged and the police constable's number logged in it at the time of the call, saying that he was reporting a plane crashed?
Oh yeah. The police, local police anyway, were quite happy that they believed the plane had crashed. And that fitted in with the lights that the villagers were seeing and this explosion sound, which was part of the earthquake. The police actually commandeered, or some police officers commandeered, a vehicle from a local farm, and they went up onto the mountain. The farmer's son, who's now an adult in his own right with his own farm, he knew that ground, and as a consequence, once he got off the public road, he took that vehicle in a circular motion around part of the mountain. As a consequence, the police found nothing, because these lights actually came from a group of lads who were out with lamps, hunting rabbits, and they dodged the police. The police actually found their vehicle partly blocking their way up onto the mountain. And once the police went onto the mountain, these lads actually watched the police look at their car. When the police had gone, they jumped in the car and they got lost. The police searched and found nothing. The only thing of note was that about 3 miles to their south, for about 10 seconds, there was a rather large white glow that appeared and then subsided, and that was the only thing that was reported. The white glow was roughly in the area where this object was sat, which the local district nurse came to see just about 10 o'clock later on in the evening.
Okay, can you tell us about that then? What she saw?
Well, what I uncovered was that all the telephone lines were jammed to the police all over Wales, and the district nurse, Pat Evans, her name was, she tried to get in touch with the police because she'd also heard this explosion sound, and although she didn't live in Llandrillo, she lived in a village called Llanderfel, which was about 3 miles from there. She thought a plane had crashed onto the Berwyn mountain range somewhere. She eventually got through to police headquarters in Colburn Bay just before 9:30, explained who she was, and because she was a nurse, she offered her services. That's where it got a little bit sort of sticky, because the police were already on the mountain at 9:20. They commandeered a vehicle, as I mentioned earlier, at 9:10. Yet the police in the headquarters said, yeah, we'll accept your offer of medical assistance. But they never actually told her where to go. They just said, just make your own way around and see what you can see.
You'll see the lights.
Well, they didn't even say that. But what she did was she actually drove up quite a lonely road. It's the main road now, the B4391, which goes from Bala over the Berwyn mountain range towards Oswestry, Shrewsbury Way, on the English border there. And when she was up on the tops, the highestmost part of the road, she came across this large luminous object. She described it as larger than a full moon, perched on the side of the mountain. It was about a mile from her position on the road, and it was sort of white and bluish white and yellowish white, changing colour. She didn't have a clue what it was. She was astounded by what she saw. She had her two daughters with her as well, two teenage daughters. She looked at this object for a few minutes, drove along the road, turned round, came back, and looked at it for longer. And then after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, she decided to make her way home. The reason she did that was, one, she couldn't possibly reach the object because it was just cross open country, and also she couldn't do anything about it because she saw these little lights flickering about, moving around it. She called these fairy lights. That was the best way of describing them. Mm-hmm. And she thought they were actually torches of rescuers or something approaching whatever this object was. She knew it wasn't a plane crash, but she just didn't sort of consider what it might have been other than a plane. And she went on her way.
And she didn't report anything?
No, she thought it was all in hand, and that was that for the night. The next day, by the next day, the police had resumed a search on this piece of ground above Llandrillo where they thought a plane had crashed. And by then they were joined by a 3-man team from RAF Valley in Anglesey, a mountain search and rescue team. And what became suspicious about that was that there had been plane crashes on the Berwyn Mountain Range previously. There was one in 1968, 4 years earlier, where 4 people lost their lives. And whenever there's been a plane crash on the mountains, they always call in the local mountain rescue team, who are all volunteers and who know that particular piece of ground very well indeed. Every mountain range has got them, everyone's got their own patch. On this occasion, they declined to invite the local mountain rescue team and instead waited for a 3-man team from the military to come 75 miles from Anglesey and assist in a search. Again, the strange thing that happened was the following day. It was 12 hours. It didn't go daylight till 8 o'clock in the morning. 12 hours after this reported plane crash, the military and the police still conducted another search on the same piece of ground where the lights were, because at that point they didn't know that these lads hunting had caused these lights and beams and things. Mm-hmm. And within 12 hours, even in 1974, the Civil Aviation Authority or the military would have known that anyone lost a plane.
Of course they would.
Yeah, yet they still conducted a search for a plane that wasn't even reported missing.
So they were quite clearly looking for something.
They were clearly looking for something, yeah. You're quite right. But what actually happened was the 3-man search and rescue team, they concluded their search about 2 p.m., just after 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And officially, on paper, there was nothing to find, nothing to report. Search was concluded. An hour later, those 3 guys were caught and spotted on the side of the neighbouring mountain where this object was, mooching about there. So by then, they clearly got wind that whatever they were looking for was nearly 4 miles from their original position. And they moved it. They concluded the search above the Llandrillo, and they moved 4 miles away to where this object was sat the previous night. Now what actually happened there was the aforementioned nurse, Pat Evans, she had already mentioned this the following morning to some of the locals, and she'd actually said it looked like some sort of weird spaceship type thing, but she didn't actually know that. She was just talking about that in general. The locals picked up on it, and within no time, in such a small community, it rocketed round about little green men and flying saucers and all this business. And clearly the military picked up on this and realised that what she'd seen was something important, and they shifted the search to that area. But since then, we've managed to uncover things like